If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. What I do is I help actually liberate women from toxic relationships by their mindset, by their thought process, to eradicate the trauma bond, the triggers, and to move forward in the healing process. Inside of this, it's already opened up the door for me to be able to work with different guys that have shown up as the narcissist, as the toxic, abusive asshole in the relationship that has actually disintegrated the marriage or the relationship. These guys that have reached out have been guys that have been liars or cheaters or abusers, and they start to see and resonate with some of my videos and some of what I posted saying, hey, I want help too. And with those guys, I'm willing to work with. So if you're a guy that is dealing with narcissistic personality disorder, or you're a guy that's dealing with being a liar or a cheater, or you find your marriage falling apart, would love to be able to talk to you. You can go to rawmotivations.com, click on the breakthrough session for men, and let's talk. Let's see where you're at, and let's help you move forward in this process. Today, one of the pieces we're talking about is gaslighting, but specifically this area of gaslighting to myself, what this actually means and what this actually looks like. I believe that the narcissist is the first person to gaslight himself. I believe that you, as a man, are the first person to gaslight yourself, simply because you have to lie to yourself about what's actually going on. You have to lie to yourself about the toxicity that you are and that you're doing and that you're portraying to your wife, to your significant other, to whoever it might be. But this whole piece of gaslighting has to happen eternally first. Has to happen for yourself first. It's not just that you're doing it to everybody else, you're doing it to yourself. And as a result, there's parts of you that start to believe that what you're actually creating inside of your mind is actually true, when in reality, it is not. You live in a fiction, in a fantasy world, hoping and thinking and praying that maybe this might be not what it actually is. But the reality that you're avoiding is simply yourself. You're avoiding the shame of what you've actually done. You're avoiding the shame of who you actually are. You're avoiding the shame that you're actually incongruent. Like if you look at your life and you look at what's actually underneath the surface, you start to realize that what's underneath the surface you actually don't like. Because what's underneath the surface is a man that actually isn't showing up as a man at all. But instead we see a coward. We see a guy who can't tap into his emotions. We see a guy that's running away from himself. This produces a big level of guilt and big level of shame, which is why you go and you sedate in many different ways. You lie to other people to be able to hide the shame that you feel. You drink so that you can numb out the pain. You take drugs so you can avoid it and step into your fantasy reality. You move everything away from that feeling of the hurt and the pain of who you actually are inside. When you're in this place, you start to learn how to gaslight yourself. And you have to gaslight yourself before you can gaslight anybody else, because you have to tell yourself a bunch of lies. And not just the fact that you're telling yourself lies, but you have to tell yourself this lie over and over and over again until you believe it. That way it becomes your new reality, your new fantasy of what's actually going on. You see, gaslighting is like lying, except it's like 2.0. And gaslighting is taking a lie and then taking that to a step further and making that other person question or doubt their current reality, the things that they're struggling with or where they currently are. You, as a toxic guy, are coming into the picture, and you're not just looking at reality and then doubting it. You're looking at reality and then you're changing it to avoid the shame and the guilt, to avoid how you feel in the moment, to avoid the toxicity, the incongruence of like, wait a second, I'm saying that I love my wife, but I'm actually cheating on her. Man, I actually just love my wife. Yeah, that's it. You're lying to yourself. But the problem is you've done this for so many times and for so many years, you've gotten to the place that you've been believing your lies. Now, they might not even be looking at you like lies. Like you might look at them and be like, it's not lies. I'm not lying to myself. I don't know what you're talking about. But you're not telling the truth of who you actually are to the world. You're not telling the truth of what you've actually done. You're not telling the truth to your partner, to the people in your life. You're hiding, you're sedating, you're running away from the reality of what's actually going on and who you actually are. Inside of this, I want you to consider this whole process of your growth, of your development, has to come down to a simple aspect of you telling the truth. But more than you telling the truth to your wife, to your kids, to your coworkers, to your pastor, more than you telling the truth to anyone in your life, you telling the truth to you. Because if you don't tell the truth to you, nothing else matters. Nothing else is going to change. You might be thinking, I'm not a liar. I want you to consider we're all liars. The difference is the lies that you have conscious or are they subconscious? You might have a conscious lie that says, hey, I love my wife, when you actually don't. But I do because I say I do. I do because I provide. No, you don't, because you're a cheater and you're a liar. Therefore, you don't love. You don't like to hear it, but you need to hear it. Because your actions speak more than your words. I don't give a shit about your words. Because your words mean nothing to me and to her. They mean nothing because you've been saying them over and over and over again, but in reality, nothing's actually changed. Nothing has actually happened at all. There's been no transformation inside of you, and all you do is keep showing up, saying different things with no different actions. You're gaslighting yourself. You're making yourself believe that there's a reality when you're actually putting in the work, but you're not actually putting in the work. It's like the guy that goes to the gym and he's like, yeah, I'm more fit because I go to the gym, but he doesn't actually work out at the gym. He just goes to the gym, sits around, watches everybody else, makes himself feel better because everybody else is working out, and he feels all pumped up and motivated because he went to the gym. But in reality, he didn't do anything. This is currently how you are in your marriage. You as the toxic guy, the liar, the cheater, the abuser, aren't doing anything. You're saying that you want to do stuff. You're saying that you care. You're saying that you want to be better, but in reality, you're not actually doing anything at all. There's no difference. There's no shift. There's no change inside of you. There's simply you showing up in the same abusive, aggressive way over and over and over, wondering why you have anger issues, wondering why you have a short fuse when she talks, wondering why you're triggered about this, wondering why about this. But it all just keeps happening over and over and over again because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself of who you actually are. This space of being radically honest with yourself seems like impossible. Seems like a reality that you can never even tap into, and that's what I thought. I thought it was a reality I could never tap into because I never even gave it a thought. I never even had this idea in my mind that I was a liar to myself. I was telling myself that I was a good guy, when in reality, I was abusive mentally and emotionally. I was telling myself that I was a faithful husband. In reality, I was cheating on my wife, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to acknowledge it. I didn't want to see it. I wanted to avoid the facts. If I could avoid the facts, then I could live in my fantasy world and make myself feel like I was the most amazing person ever, when in reality, I was a piece of shit. Because I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my kids. I didn't show up. I didn't demonstrate that on a day-to-day basis. And right now, as you're watching this, neither of you. Because you as the toxic guy have been struggling with this piece of you actually showing up honest. But you don't even think that you're showing up as a liar. So it's hard for anyone to work with you. Simply put, you have a wife or you have a spouse that maybe keyed you into my videos and are like, hey, I think you need to watch this guy. But if you don't actually realize that you're lying to yourself, there's actually nothing we can do. Like you're actually on a dead-end road where you're just like, oh, I love my wife, but you're cheating on her. Well, I care about my wife, but you're abusing her. And if you don't actually see that there's some facts there that are proving that you don't actually care about these people, but you're actually hurting and abusing, nothing's actually going to change and you'll never get better. So until you actually come to terms with you're a liar, nothing's going to change. Until you actually see that you're gaslighting yourself to believe a reality that's actually not real, nothing's going to change. And we're going to be on the dead-end road. That's why your partner, the wife, the relationship that you're in, your partner, if she sees that you haven't started to be honest and vulnerable and open to this consistency of change, she should run. She should leave because she shouldn't be around a toxic asshole like you if you're not willing to actually be honest with yourself. Now, I get it. You've been lying to yourself for such a long period of time, you don't even know what's right. You don't even know what's wrong. You don't even know what's up or down. You're kind of confused just in life. Well, you haven't had tools to be able to process the emotions. You haven't had tools to be able to work through you, your mindset, your thought process, but instead you've been stuck in this endless loop of running and sedating and hiding and telling and then moving back through the same process over and over. Running and sedating and hiding and telling and then going back through all over again. Are you tired? Are you tired of always having this loop, this karmic cul-de-sac that just keeps looping you over and over and over and over again, but you don't actually have anything different in your life? Like, if you look at your life now versus like 5 years ago, your life isn't any better. In fact, it's been on this decline. Relationship-wise, your body-wise, maybe even your business, your focus on you, your kids, everybody. You see it on a decline simply because you're not happy. You're not fulfilled. You have no idea what joy actually is. Like, I talk about joy and you're like, yeah, no clue. Because you can't even tap into those emotions, because you can't even feel those emotions right now, because you're so heavily sedated by the things you've been doing, by the things you've been telling yourself. You're emotionally constipated with all the shit that's been packed inside of you, but you haven't released it. You haven't actually worked through it. So it leaves you in a place where you're like, I don't even know what to do. That's where I want you to reach out. Because if you're a guy that's watching this today and you've been a liar, you've been a cheater, you've been an abuser, and you start to realize and identify with the things that I'm saying here, the things I'm saying on my channel, you start to realize, hey, that actually might be me, then we need to have a talk. We need to sit down and let me actually walk you through the process and the step-by-steps that I've worked through to be able to shift my mindset, my thought process, to ungaslight myself in the reality that I was living so I could actually stand up as a man, so I could actually be confident in who I actually am. Versus keep telling myself that this is a false reality and trying to believe something that I'm actually not and trying to say that I'm a good guy while I'm actually being abusive. All of these things are lies that will keep you back from actually being the man you're called to be. So some of this might resonate with you. Some of this might be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And great, keep scrolling because you're not the person I want to work with. The person I want to work with is the person that actually is here and that's like, hey, I actually resonate with this. I actually see this. I actually understand that I'm stuck emotionally, that I'm stuck mentally, that there's pieces that I don't know how to unlock. That's who I want to talk to. So if you're watching this today and you're a guy that's dealing with this and you feel toxic, or you realize, hey, I've shown up as a liar consistently, or I've shown up as a cheater, or I can't even be authentic with my emotions, I don't even know how to process this, then I want you to reach out. I'm going to have a link down below in this video, but you can always go to rawmotivations.com, click on the breakthrough call for men. I want to be able to talk to you and see where you're at to be able to help you move forward. Not just to save your marriage, but to save you from continuing in this cycle of being the abusive guy that you are right now.